Hey, it's Mr. Beat here. This is breaking news. We just found out that JD Vance, James David Vance, is the running mate officially to Donald Trump for the 2024 presidential election. I did a similar live stream exactly 4 years ago, right after Joe Biden announced he was running with Kamala Harris. And so I figured I'd do the same thing here today. And looks like I'm not going. It looks like I was supposed to be streaming to Twitter, but it looks like that's not working. I'll just remove that. So yeah, we're just here on Twitch and YouTube. So anyway, thanks for being here. Yeah, I have a few things to say, but not a whole lot. The thing is, I generally want to suspend too much judgment because he needs a chance to prove himself, but it is an interesting pick, so I'm going to share my analysis here. But I think JD Vance is definitely someone who is pretty popular among the Republican populist base. So I think that's he's definitely going to be somebody that a lot of people who are already fans of Donald Trump are going to rally behind, I think. Mostly, although it is notable that JD Vance at one time was a so-called never Trumper, which means he used to talk trash about Donald Trump. In 2016, if you go back and look at what he said back then about Trump, he said some pretty mean things about him. I mean, he said that he was not he was a bad faith actor, basically comparing him to Adolf Hitler, for crying out loud. So you can find a lot of quotes. Most of it was on his personal messages or on Facebook. But even publicly, he said some things negatively about Trump, and so he was associated with the Never Trumper movement in 2016, but then has since, of course, done a complete 180. If you look at his tweets from the past 2 years. He consistently defends Trump no matter what, consistently attacks people who attack Trump. So he is, I guess, the excitement really, though, is the fact that he is a younger guy. He is somebody who is kind of representing the future of the Republican Party. So also, I like to point this out here. JD Vance he could possibly be the first president, assuming Trump steps aside or dies while in office, with a beard in a long time. Look at that. Look at that beautiful beard. He is the first major party candidate, president or vice president, either one, that is in a long time, who has a full beard. The other exciting thing about JD Vance is he is, like I said, he's young. He is a millennial. Yes, he's a millennial. He's younger than me. He's 3 years younger than me. This is crazy that a 39-year-old there's a possibility that a 39-year-old man will be in the executive branch come November. So I understand that the youth angle, this will excite a lot of younger Republican voters. However, I'm not sure if this is going to translate to independent voters or just the normies, as I call them, the people that don't pay that close of attention to politics. I don't know if he's going to resonate with them so much because he is very socially conservative. His economic positions are a little bit more all over the place. So let's kind of look at that a little bit now. It's important to bring this stuff up because, I think mostly he agrees with President Trump on most issues, but I think there are some areas where there's slight difference. I think he's actually a little bit more of a hardliner, for example, when it comes to abortion. He definitely is, well, as you can see here, he has a 100% rating by Susan B. Anthony Pro-Life America. So he is a no exception guy, no gray area, very anti-abortion. And so that is definitely, I would say, a slight difference from Trump. Trump's more nuanced on that. In terms of, I would say, foreign policy, he's a little bit more mainstream Republican. He has, though, actively, like consistently, vocally said, hey, we need to stop funding Ukraine in the Russo-Ukraine war that's been going on, because he thinks that, it's just not worth it for the United States to be involved in something that could add more instability around the world. So he's and in terms of other positions, he's definitely brings up immigration a lot. It's notable when in 2016 when he criticized Trump, he criticized a lot of the rhetoric Trump was using in terms of Trump, scaremongering against immigrants, specifically those from Mexico. However, now he's all about, hey, we need to finish that wall that was never finished, barely built during Trump's presidency, actually. As far as economics, I would say he does kind of dip his toes into populism a little bit, but it's worth noting that this is a guy supported by the elites, Peter Thiel. He made his money as a venture capitalist. So as an investor, he moved to San Francisco in the tech industry. And he's somebody who, I think he would even say this, probably he's got one foot in middle America because that's his upbringing, and one foot in kind of elite circles. And so I think that's part of his appeal. And if you're wondering about his upbringing, actually a lot of people know about his upbringing because there was a pretty successful book that he wrote called Hillbilly Elegy that later became a hit movie on Netflix, starring Amy Adams and Glenn Close. And it was based on his life story growing up in northern Kentucky and southern Ohio. If you read the book, there are some excerpts from the book where he does seem to talk down to basically look down upon folks from his hometowns in Ohio and Kentucky, where he's like, so many people on food stamps, on welfare, they're not working, they're all addicted to drugs, and he even expressed some of these sentiments about his own family, although, it's mostly meant to be his life story is about turning your life around despite the challenges that you encounter, facing obstacles, adversity back home. Because he had he had his own challenges that he experienced that were unique growing up, and he was able to overcome them and ultimately went to Yale. I mean, he does have an inspirational story. He served in the Marine Corps, so he's somebody who was in the military. That's another part of his appeal. Let's show that picture there of him in the Marine Corps. That's from 2003. So, I get why the Republican Party why Trump decided to pick him as his running mate. Now, JD Vance has not been in politics that long. He's only been a U.S. Senator since January 2023. So a year and a half. He hasn't even been able to vote on that many bills. I mean, it's been a very inactive Senate the last year and a half. But he's made the rounds on the media circuit for sure. So a lot of people are aware of who he is just because, he's put himself out there. But in terms of, broader appeal outside of the base of the Republican Party, I feel like it's a bit of a gamble. We don't know if he will have broader appeal. I think one of the reasons why Trump was seriously considering someone like Tim Scott an African American was because he was hoping to broaden his appeal to the African American community, or why he was considering a female like Kristi Noem, before she maybe before she was talking about killing her dog, was because he wanted to broaden his appeal among women, for example. Because, a lot of identity politics is still a big thing. However, I think ultimately he scrapped that because he realized, I think his focus is getting his base excited and to the polls, getting them voting on election day. Because I think this election is going to be it's going to be pretty close, and you want your followers to just show up and vote, because that's not a guaranteed thing to happen. A lot of people actually decide, I prefer one candidate over the other, but I'm not motivated enough to vote. You want people excited. So they're hoping to excite the base, I think, with this pick. And so I understand that, but again, it's the jury's out on whether he will have appeal to independents. But I want to see what your thoughts are. I do know that a lot of younger folks really are excited about him. I see a lot of excitement among election Twitter. The dudes who I kind of run into a lot on election Twitter, like between the ages of 16 and 24, who a lot of them troll me and watch me. I think they kind of worship this guy, although he kind of hasn't proven himself yet. Again, he never entered politics at all. He was a venture capitalist for many years. The first time he ever became a politician was his election as a U.S. senator, riding the popularity of his book and the movie Hillbilly Elegy. So that was he kind of came out of nowhere. I think that movie in particular that came out at the end of 2020, so we're talking less than 4 years ago, really made him more of a household name. But still, a lot of people have no idea who he is. So he did compare. Well, this wasn't like a tweet or anything, but privately, I think to one of his friends, he compared him to Hitler, like America's Hitler. Thanks for the super chats here. I'll go through all these here now. Do you think we will ever see a prominent independent in America, or is party politics doomed to be the fate of Americans? I know this isn't about JD. I think we've already seen this to certain extents, but what happens is generally when you see a third party independent movement, you see it get co-opted by one of the two major political parties, or even both of them. We saw this happen in the 1890s with the populism movement, which later became the broader progressive movement. Yeah, E for Every Gamers here. Thank you for gifting more memberships. So hopefully more can become members. You get access to videos early. Actually, my video that's coming out on Friday is already available early to members. So if you become a member, you can already watch Friday's video. The topic is, why are there only 435 members in the U.S. House of Representatives? Yeah. I talked to a person who went to the Capitol, went to the offices of members of Congress, and 90% of the staff did not know the answer to that question. So that's the Friday's video. You can watch it now early if you are a channel member or Patreon supporter. So thank you, Ian, for that. Dawson, Dan Quell vibes. I would say the difference is JD Vance is legit, pretty smart guy. He's played the game pretty well already with the political game. He's I wonder what he's up to. I think he has like a grand master plan. I still think he secretly is not like the biggest Trump fan, but he's been able to like win him over. But yeah, he went to Yale. Okay. He's definitely more intelligent than Dan Quell. And as far as if you want to compare him to his political positions, they are both similarly, they lean to the right socially quite a bit, but economically, I think Vance is more towards the middle. I think he's open to tariffs, open to banning insider trading. What he's expressed interest to that. Also, I think he's okay with. I could be wrong on this, but I think he's okay with increasing the minimum wage. So certain things he's not as far right, I think. Although Dan Quayle was also more moderate in terms of economics, I think, if I remember correctly. So, but in terms of like character, personality, intelligence, I think he's more intelligent. Hey, SI Vlogs here. Thank you. Speaking of vice presidents, did Dan Quayle's career never really recover from the "you're no Jack Kennedy" swipe? I think that was we remember that more today than they did back then, and so that was the date of the "you're no Jack Kennedy." I'm going to look up that. That was during the 1988 vice presidential debate between Lloyd Bentsen and Dan Quayle, where Lloyd Bentsen said, "Senator, you're no Jack Kennedy." I think, George H.W. Bush Sr. went on to win that election. So I don't know if it really had that much of an effect back then, but definitely we remember that now, don't we? He reminds me of James Garfield, a bearded young man, Republican from Ohio, who was in the military and also a lawyer. And James Garfield was also extremely intelligent. Yeah, but I mean, James Garfield was more of a progressive, I think. It is interesting that JD Vance is painting himself as a populist, as somebody who's against the elites, when in reality, if you look at who supports him, a lot of the elites actually support him. So it's interesting how he's able to pull it off, the rhetoric of, we need to drain the swamp, take down the establishment, which is similar to what Trump did in 2016. But now that he's in office, it's like, oh, the elites are cool with him because he still wants to lower corporate taxes and income taxes, So kind of he has, like I said earlier, he has one foot in the populism and another foot kind of in the establishment, which, that's another similarity to Trump too. A lot of rural America already likes JD Vance because of his populist rhetoric. Yeah, the reason why I was a little surprised, Alex, thanks for that, that the Republican Party was okay with this and Trump was okay with him as his running mate was because, there's so many examples of JD Vance talking trash about Trump that you can pull up. It's already been, if you go to social media, you see so much of it already. And I think there's a sizable number of folks who are Trump supporters who already don't like Vance for that because they have not forgiven him despite his 180. Again, today JD Vance is one of the biggest Trump supporters around. He will defend, like if you see what he wrote after Saturday, the assassination attempt on Trump, he had very strong words. Basically just attacking people who attack Trump. So maybe I think a lot of people who support Trump have gotten over that, but some never did. The never Trumpers. That it's interesting. Pixel Guy, thank you. What's the pros cons of neutrality as the starting point, no matter what someone represents politically? To me, let's give them a chance first. Often feels like neutrality bias with no substance. The thing is, we don't know how JD Vance would actually govern. The assumption now is we have two old dudes running for president, the two oldest dudes of all time by far, only breaking the record from 2020. And so we have a very real possibility statistically that one of them, if they do get elected, could die in office, because when you're in your 80s, it's, you've already lived past the average life expectancy. They are old men. That means when you're going to the voting booth or you're voting by mail this November, you're really voting for vice president, because it's really coming down to now between JD Vance and Kamala Harris. because there's a real possibility that the two leading the tickets are just, they're old. So I think in terms of how JD Vance would govern, I don't think we have any idea. A lot of politicians will say things and they don't mean it. And so we don't really know until they get in there. With Trump, we know how he will probably govern. We saw 4 years of it. Same with Biden. So whereas Kamala Harris and JD Vance, yeah, you can be neutral with those two because we haven't seen how they would govern. I mean, they've never been in an executive position other than Kamala Harris was Attorney General in California. That's the closest she got, but she was not governor. JD Vance has never been. I mean, like I said before, his only experience in politics is a year and a half as a U.S. senator. So yeah, that's why I say I lean towards we don't know. Like to make assumptions, I think, especially when we know politicians lie, we know politicians will just say whatever they can to make whoever is in front of them happy, especially JD Vance, who has literally contradicted himself, over the past several years. We've seen it. I don't know. I don't know if we assume the worst. Definitely shouldn't assume the best, but I always like to kind of go in with like saying, well, we don't know. I don't think this is an inspired choice for Trump, as it just appeals to the same extreme people that were already going to vote for him. Yeah, I can definitely relate to that comment there. That's kind of the same vibes I got because, the only thing is the only major thing, I mean, he's another white dude. Okay. Let's just say the quiet part out loud. Because Republicans have been trying to be more and more into identity politics in recent years to compete with Democrats, and they've gained ground. They've gained ground with minorities, albeit slightly, with African-American voters, a little bit. Yeah. So you would have thought they would have gone that direction. But yeah, like his appeal still, I think, is he energizes the base. He's a young guy, younger than me. He has a beard. Come on. So no, I think he's going to excite the base enough where more people might be motivated to show up that maybe we're just like, they all suck. That said, I mean, a lot of the base is already showing up. I mean, like you said, a lot of Trump supporters are cult-like. They're the type that they show up, they wait in line in sub-zero temperatures at rallies. I think the crazy thing is, though, now that what happened on Saturday with this assassination attempt, I don't know if the rallies are going to have the same atmosphere as they did before, or if he's even going to have as many rallies. We don't know. This week, of course, is the Republican National Convention all week long, and then we don't know exactly how many rallies Trump is going to have afterward. We do know that he has more dates available because his court cases are just getting dropped left and right. His sentencing now won't be until September for his conviction of fraud. Convictions, I should say. But yeah, like he still actually technically could face prison time. People have forgotten that. That could be another crazy thing that changes the dynamic of this election. First-time voter in Wisconsin in November, just turned 18 a few weeks ago. Nice. Election will be during my first semester of college. Excited to be part of it. Yeah. I don't care who you vote for, just vote. Please vote. Thank you for voting. Thank you for being excited about this stuff and involved at such a young age. So many people your age are not into it. So if you can just tell all your friends that are your age to do the same, that would be amazing. Will Vance be, quote, next? Does this prop him up? Absolutely. I think, again, part of the appeal is that, he's representing the next generation of Republicans, and he's really tapped into that populism that is so dominant in the Republican Party, whether it's faux populism or real. I think some of it is real. I think a lot of people that are Republicans now are true populists who are truly against the elites, the establishment. Again, the most resonating phrase of Trump's campaign in 2016, I firmly believe, was "drain the swamp," because that's something that resonates with people across the political spectrum. So Vance has tapped into that already. And so he could, in terms of like younger people and think about 10, 20 years down the line. Yeah, I think he's going to be around in politics for a very long time. Tom Stable, thanks for becoming a member. Brian the dog, could Vance's lack of political experience hurt him? Well, it's similar to Trump. It definitely didn't hurt him. So I don't think it's going to. I mean, I guess that was the argument for Pence back in 2016, was he had experience in government, but also more, he was there to like reel in the evangelical vote, which now is locked in. You don't need to do that anymore. So I don't know. I don't think it really hurts him that much. I wouldn't say so. Alex, if you were Trump, who would you have picked? I would have picked Tim Scott, because Tim Scott, I feel like he would have attracted independent voters and broadened his support a little bit. And he's a nice dude. He's just a nice guy. What scares me most is their climate policy. Yeah, JD Vance, even though he's 3 years younger than me, and he will probably live to see many of the damaging effects of climate change, he still is a climate change denialist, mostly, saying that, it's China's worse, so we shouldn't do anything, basically, just to oversimplify his views on climate policy. So yeah, him and Trump have nearly identical climate policies. They don't want the federal government to do much at all to fight climate change. What do you feel about the MMP vote system? I know this isn't related to the video, but gives proportionality and local representation. Single transferable vote has a high threshold, and I feel that MP is the best. So just to make sure I'm clear on what you mean by MMP, mixed member proportional representation, I'm assuming. I like it. It's a good kind of blend of both worlds, because you still have a safeguard in place. A lot of countries around the world do it. Mexico does it, notably. Yeah, I think it would be better than what we have now. So I should make a video on MMP for sure. Thanks for bringing it up for all of us. He gives me Spiro Agnew vibes. A dude with minimal time in government with a great last name. Okay, yeah. Definitely has a great last name. Not as cool first name, though. He has two first names, right? No, first and middle, yeah. I don't know about that. Is he as corrupt as Spiro Agnew? I hope not. Because Spiro Agnew was a pretty corrupt guy. I think one of the worst vice presidents in American history. Not to mention he underperformed Trump. Well, that was mostly because I think Tim Ryan, his opponent in the midterm elections 2022, was pretty strong. Like Tim Ryan had huge support among blue collar workers. I mean, like even in some of the small towns in Ohio. So I don't know if that's going to translate to the this presidential election. But yeah, that's a good point, Alex. I don't like me, the guy, but it makes sense why JD pushed so hard to be Trump's VP. Even if Trump loses, he can run in 28 and already have Trump's base. Yeah. See, I think JD has had his eye on the presidency since he first wrote that memoir, Hillbilly Elegy. I think this guy is one of those guys who wanted to be president his whole life. That's the vibes I get. And he just wanted to do it a different way. Because a lot of people assume, oh, you want to be president someday, you gotta go to DC and get there and work your way up the hierarchy that way. That's not the only way to get there anymore, especially. Still Alive is here. Good to see you again. The dude over at Let's Talk Election says Vance is probably the worst pick Trump could make, and it might hurt him electorally. Hope that's true. I don't think it's the best pick he could have made. Yeah. I think the best pick he could have made would have been Nikki Haley. but his ego is too big for that. So yeah, if he would have picked Nikki Haley, I think you would have seen a pretty solid victory, assuming there's no changes between now and the election day. Because again, we have 4 months until election day, and I think there's a good possibility that Biden is not his main opponent. I still firmly believe that there's a good chance that Biden drops out, and Kamala Harris takes over. Like she would then be the front runner, in my opinion. But we'll see. A lot could change, though. I think a lot of things are going to get kind of crazy here in these last few months because so many people are passionate about this. Like a lot of people, both in the Republican Party and Democratic Party, they think this is like the election. Like I know everybody says that every election, but this election feels even more intense than the last two. You probably get those vibes as well, like especially from Democrats. A lot of Democrats say, "Oh, this is going to be the end of democracy as we know it if Trump gets reelected." I hope it's not. We'll see about that. It's an interesting, scary time we are living through right now. Drew, thank you. Hey, Mr. B, what are your thoughts on Tulsi Gabbard? She could have been a good choice as she could have appealed to women, non-interventionists, independents, and other disillusioned Democrats. Yeah, I used to think that, but she comes across more and more as just a grifter, somebody just trying to make money on being somebody on the outside of things. She's made a lot of money since she pivoted to the right, and she's changed her position. She's not as principled as I once thought she was. I used to actually defend her, but as far as non-interventionism, she has defended, certain acts of war when it's convenient for her to defend it. And more, she's basically just like been the contrarian to Democrats, no matter what, to a point where she's like once was strongly for universal health care, and now she's all of a sudden against it. What do you stand for? I don't know. That's why I kind of lost faith in her. She just comes across to me as a grifter, and I think a lot of her former supporters same. So I think at this point she has way more support amongst Republicans than Democrats. I think most Democrats that once supported her have abandoned her, and I think that's what the Republicans and Trump recognized, because I know that they at least somewhat considered reaching out to her about that. The only thing about Vance I can get behind is his facial hair. Yeah, I mean, it would be exciting to have somebody in the executive branch again with facial hair. The last time that happened was William Howard Taft, believe it or not, over 100 years ago. So how do you think a Harris-Vance debate would go? I think it would be a pretty good debate, actually. I think I'd be really interested in what both had to say. I think it would be 10 times better than the last two debates between Biden and Trump, that's for sure. But I think Harris is a pretty solid debater, and Vance is good at talking. So I think they both would probably have sharp performances. Well, thank you. If Trump is elected again and completes a second term, will you release a new Trump song or update the old one? This is a really good question, and I did not anticipate this ever happening. So that's why I went ahead and made the first Trump song. I don't know. I think I would probably have to have an addendum, or just I think what I would do is update the old one and like add something to it, because I still have all the original separate files. But yeah, it's interesting because a lot could happen if he does become president again. That could change, Then again, though, I went back and listened to it the other day. A lot of it holds up pretty well. I will say a lot of it holds up pretty well. That's a great question, though. Thanks for your support. Do you think Republicans having the VP nomination from Ohio hurts Sherrod Brown's? Is it Sherrod, or I always mispronounce his first name? Sherrod Brown? It's Sherrod, right? Sherrod Brown's reelection efforts. I know Brown has a lot of blue collar support, similar to Tim Ryan. He appeals a lot to more compared to most Democrats. He makes like he goes to rural Ohio and actually campaigns more aggressively and is more well liked by those who live outside of Columbus or Cleveland or Cincinnati. I know. So I do think with JD Vance, like, it's interesting. Again, Tim Ryan did fairly well against him. So I don't know. I think it's, I don't know if it's going to make that much difference. I think it was already like Sherrod Brown's already having a tough time there. I think it's, if he's able to pull off a victory in Ohio, I would be surprised, honestly, already. So I don't know if it makes that much difference. I wonder if the comments he made actually matter. Kamala did call out Biden as a racist during 2020. Overall, I think debate would be interesting. Yeah, I think people change, people get over it. I think Trump also might have leaned more towards JD Vance because he's like, well, hey, this guy used to criticize me. Now he kisses my butt. So he's basically, he had to humiliate himself to come around to this position. And so I'm more likely to pick him as a running mate. I noticed that Trump is more like, if you once attack Trump, but then you come around and then start kissing his butt, he seems to be more attracted to you as a supporter, which is, I don't know, make what you will of that, but Vance's rise reminds me of Nixon. Nixon was a young anti-communist crusader. Vance's young MAGA crusader. Both were chosen as VP before turning 40. I think they were both opportunists for sure. I think, yeah, they are less ideological. Like Nixon didn't have a strong ideology. A lot of people think this is true, but no. Like he was very pragmatic, cared more about his legacy and power, I think. And yeah, I can see that comparison. Although, again, I don't know. We won't know for many years if this is an accurate comparison or not. But yeah. Well, Tyler, good to see you here. Thanks for that. What are your thoughts on Trump's assassination and their fact that JD Vance is the first millennial major party candidate? I'm not sure what you mean by assassination, but the fact that he's the first millennial major party candidate, I'm excited because finally someone my age is getting a chance. Even if I disagree with them on most issues, it's still exciting to see finally the next generation come up. You know, and the younger you have, like I remember in 2008 when Barack Obama was still considered young, you know, and he excited a lot of younger people to go out and vote and be inspired to change the world for the better. So, yeah, I mean, I think overall, I think it's a good thing to finally have a millennial major party candidate. Oh, I already looked at that one. Okay. Tom's Table. You said 65% chance Biden dropping out. Where are you now? I'm still at about that. Yeah. I still think there's a really good chance that he drops out. I'm staying with 65%, Tom. Victoria, I've had a hard time finding information about JD's policies and stance. Is he an extreme conservative? I also missed the first 15 minutes. So sorry. Oh, yeah. Like I put a link in the description of this video. A good shortcut to a lot of things is there's a website called votesmart.org, and you just search whatever candidate. So this is the one I was talking about here. And then see if you go here, you can click on positions. Ooh, looks like there's not much here though. Ah, interesting. Speeches. Funding is always, that's a really, follow the money. That's a real eye opener there. I know he's a strong supporter of Israel. That's for those of you wondering about that. I know probably some of you are at least. Do you think Vance will have the same fate as Pence, meaning Trump supporters will want to hang him if he doesn't certify the results of the next election? Is that what you mean? I sure hope not. I do think that in terms of integrity, I'm going to automatically just suspend judgment and assume that he would be someone who puts the Constitution above any one politician. However, we won't really know until it happens, will we? So it is a little scary anytime you get somebody new in there. Mike Pence did the right thing and stood for the Constitution on that fateful day in January 2021. Colin, it really doesn't matter who Trump's pick as VP. He's going to sweep the floor against Biden. As of right now, I do think Trump will win. sweeping the floor. I mean, you're forgetting how many people hate Trump. I mean, I think a lot of people that support Trump, they're deep in their echo chambers. They don't get out much, and they don't understand. Like, just go to the cities and talk to people in cities. Like, I don't know, Colin, if you live in a smaller town or suburb, but go to the cities and start talking to people about how they feel about Trump. I mean, it's there's a clear over 50% of this country is not on board the Trump train. And not only are they not on board, they are like, they hate his guts. So once you understand that, I think, yeah, like it's going to be probably still a pretty close election. That said, the electoral vote may not be that close, but the popular vote, I think, will be. But yeah, the electoral vote's all that matters. So maybe that's what you mean. RFK Jr. is a great man. I've said this before. I think he's a poor communicator, horrible at communication, which has really hurt him, similar to Biden. Not only his scraggly voice, but just he's not the most charismatic person. He does have the name recognition. If you go to his website, I agree with most of his policy positions. However, where he stands on vaccines, that's a non-negotiable for many. His vaccine positions in the past and some of his more conspiratorial-minded positions just aren't going to fly with normies. He's portrayed as somebody who's crazy. I mean, let's just say let's just be blunt about it. However, he is polling as high as 9, 10%, 11% in some polls, even higher, which is the highest we've ever seen since Ross Perot in the election of 1996. So that shows you, I think, more than anything, that actually Trump and Biden are extremely unpopular. The two most unpopular major party candidate choices we've ever had in American history. So to a point where a sizable chunk of the American population is just like, screw it, I'm going to go for the brainworm guy. So that tells you a lot. Great books guy. Nice. Thanks. Pence refused to help Trump overturn the 2020 election. Do you think JD Vance will also have the courage to stand up to Trump when the time comes? Oh, I already answered that earlier, but I think it's, I don't know. I mean, I like to just assume that he would, but I guess we wouldn't know until that time comes because, again, Vance kind of comes across as just, kind of a typical politician. He's trying to appease as many people as possible. So at times contradicts himself. This is, not to like knock the guy because so many politicians do that. But I mean, we don't really know a lot of times what they're going to do until they're actually in those positions. So that's why I feel like, yeah, maybe that's why so many people are just upset with the two major party political candidates we have, because we've already seen it. We've already seen both. Nate, thank you. Would a more moderate VP help Trump out? Yes, I think so. Even though Nikki Haley really isn't that moderate when it comes to, I don't know, like foreign policy, she's pretty, I think, to the right. And then economics, she's pretty to the right. Although social issues, she's more moderate, I would argue. But yeah, I do think, like, the differences are going to come down to who shows up to vote, but also specifically really which independents are going to show up to vote. Which of the normies, the ones who don't follow politics that closely like all of us do, are actually going to show up. Why do you think Trump is not picking Pence this time around as his VP? Yeah, we know the answer to that. Yeah, Pence, when he first announced he was going to run against Trump for president, I was a little surprised, but I guess I was more surprised finding out he never gained any traction at all. Like he dropped out pretty early. He just didn't have much support at all. So it's kind of crazy how the Republican Party has dramatically changed in a short amount of time. And it's all Trumpism. It really is. Should Kamala replace Biden? I think they would help their chances. I firmly believe that. We don't have a lot of data to back this up. This is just speculation. We don't know until we actually have 1,000 polls. We've only had a handful of polls to go off of, and that's not enough. So we don't have enough data to know if it's a good decision. I'm just basing it on a lot of people just don't like Biden. They think he's too old. They don't think cognitively he's able to handle it. It's the hardest job in the world. If you cognitively can barely speak, if you can't even answer questions on the fly, how can you handle the hardest job in the world? So I think that advantage she has, that advantage alone is enough to make her a better candidate than Biden. That's just my opinion. I mentioned MP earlier. Yes, maybe you already, but thank you again for the, I would vote Trump if Haley was the VP. I'm sitting this one out. I think there's a lot of folks like you, Max, that share that same sentiment. Thanks for the super chat. Nathan, Nathan, yeah. I'm going to be honest. I'm scared about this election. I don't know where things are going, and too many things keep happening to shake up the election. Who do you prefer at the moment? Well, I prefer neither. Yeah, I mean, lesser of the two evils. I do fear potentially, like, what could go wrong with Trump is that he is primarily running for three reasons. One, it appears that he's running to seek revenge on his political enemies. Two, he's running to stay out of trouble with the law because, he's facing prison time potentially. And three, he lost a lot of money the last couple of years to keep his fortunes. If you look at his motives, it's mostly personal motives. Whereas you look at Biden, okay, there are some personal motives, but it's more like he does truly seem to care. And also, it's important to remember you're not voting just for the president. You're voting for, yes, the vice president, but you're voting for their entire cabinet. The cabinets, the advisors that surround him, the generals, the military leaders, the bureaucracy in DC has gotten so big. We have millions of people that make up the executive branch. That's also what you're voting for. And then finally, of course, you're voting for both federal judges and Supreme Court justices. So I think that's another consideration. What if Trump had picked a Colin Powell, Malcolm Nance type? Yeah, I think that probably would have been a wise move, actually, a wiser move than JD Vance. I shared my thoughts on this on Cynical Historian stream if you want to get more of my opinions on this, but it was a sad day, horrific, especially seeing that, one of my fellow Americans died, just some dude in the audience. Two others were injured. Fortunately, Trump, he got nicked on the ear. I think it might have been the glass from the teleprompter, or it may have been a bullet skidding by, but fortunately, he's all right. And I think that this is only going to help him help his election, especially you see those photos going around. They go hard for sure. I'll pull one up right now. The iconic photos already. Oh, man. Come on, internet, work. Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah, you got photos like this that are just making the rounds, and it's just kind of rehabilitating his image to those who don't really follow politics that closely. So I think it only helps his campaign. For those saying that it was staged, that's insane. For those who also saying that the deep state actually planned this, that's also insane. So the conspiracy theories are ridiculous. I just want to say that right off the bat. But yeah, definitely just shocking. I was out with my family. We were eating at a bar and grill, and we kind of saw it on the TV muted, and I was just like, I was half paying attention. I just thought it was the rally. It's like, why are they covering the rally on NBC News? Okay. But then I realized what the words were saying at the bottom. I was like, oh, wow, this is serious. But it wasn't until I got home that I learned some more about it. But there's still the investigations. There are multiple investigations into it. And Just know that we don't have all the facts yet, so just keep that in mind. Thank you, Cody. Nathan, again, I'm sure you've been asked already, what was your reaction to Trump's rally a few days back? Oh, the same thing. Yeah, I just answered. Okay, sorry. Derek, I wanted to take President Biden seriously when he had his Oval Office address on Saturday, but I just can't do it. I'm worried about him going forward. What are your thoughts? Same. Yeah. I don't know if he can handle another 4 years. It's a big concern. I think Vance's Ukraine stance actually could appeal to some moderates. He wants to stop supporting Ukraine. Now, it's important to note that we have not sent troops to Ukraine. I repeat, we have not sent troops to Ukraine. We've sent weapons. That's a big difference. But I can understand, like, he's definitely going all in with the America First. Although, if you get the rest of his foreign policy, I think he's okay with other interventions. So that's something he should be asked by journalists, I think, in the coming months. From NYC, yeah. NYC, New York as a state has become more and more supportive of Donald Trump. That's an interesting trend. Possibly, yeah. After what happened on Saturday, I would say definitely. But Secret Service has probably learned and they've stepped up their game. So, of course she does. She ran in 2020 against Biden in the primaries and dropped out when she wasn't polling very well. So that's why I think some worry that she would not poll very well now, because she had a kind of lackluster showing back in 2020, Actually, she dropped out pretty early in that race. What do you mean percentage change for Trump to win this election? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Sorry. What is your opinion about JD Vance's comments regarding Robert Kagan supposedly writing to Merrick Garland about an investigation against... Oh, I heard about this. I don't know enough about it to have an opinion about it, but I think I'll definitely revisit this. All right, I'm going to wrap this up here soon. I didn't want to go too long here. I've already gone almost an hour. Shoot. Do you think what happened the other day will only help Donald Trump? I'm from the UK, but that famous picture with his fist in the air has gone crazy here. Yeah, I think it will help him. But then again, you need to remember that here in the United States, there's a sizable chunk of the population who will never, ever vote for Donald Trump. So I think it's just a matter of then will it convert younger people? And yeah, some younger people will see that and like, oh man, that's cool. And then they'll be a supporter of him, not knowing any of his policies or not knowing any of the things that he said that were controversial. Project 2025, I'm doing a 4-part podcast with a group of guys that all do political and history podcasts. That begins on Wednesday. We're going to start recording, so you'll hear. So that's going to kind of take the place, I think, of the video. So yeah, I've read a lot of it. I'm definitely troubled by what I've read so far, but some of it though is just boring libertarian, privatization stuff that folks at the Heritage have been saying for decades at this point. So, but thank you for the super chat there. Do you think Trump corrects the mistakes made during his first term, or do you think we get a repeat of it? Hard to tell. I do think that whoever is around him, he will listen to as long as they kiss his butt. So we need to pay close attention to who is in his inner circle, because that will tell you what a second term would look like. If those people in the inner circle frighten you, then you probably should vote against it. If those people in the inner circle are like, oh yeah, these are great, these guys are great, then vote for them by all means. But I think you need to pay close attention to his inner circle. Tyler again. Yeah, see, that's the thing. She just comes across more as a grifter these days. And so instead of like standing for principles, just shifting her positions to appease whatever journalist she happens to be talking to. So yeah, it's been disappointing for for sure. If you watch a stream of me from 4 or 5 years ago, I would have been like, yeah, Tulsi's great. But, you know, new information. It's a book by the Heritage Foundation. Project 2025 is a book by the Heritage Foundation, but also features like a bunch of other conservative thinkers from all kinds of like, you know, organizations, think tanks. And it's basically their plan for a second term. It doesn't have to be necessarily Trump. It could be any Republican returning to office, their plans for what they want to see happen. Broadly speaking, they want to see more privatization. They want to see more states' rights stuff. They want to see more, I mean, there's hints of Christian nationalism, which to me is the most frightening part, where you mix religion and government. I think you shouldn't do that. There should be a wall between the two. Separation of church and state to me is very important. We don't want to become a theocracy like so many of those Middle Eastern countries. We don't want to be Iran, for example, a theocracy. So yeah, I would definitely check it out. Although there is some sensationalism, I will say, but you know, have you done a video on attempted assassinations of presidents? The ones I find interesting are Teddy Roosevelt and Gerald Ford, because they still ended up losing their elections in 1912 and 1976, respectively. Yep. You know what? Somebody just this morning when I was streaming on Twitch suggested the same thing. So I'm more likely to do this now, still live. Thank you for all your super chats, by the way. Hey, Mr. B, just got both your books. Whoa. Thank you. Yeah, those are the books up there. Yeah. Thank you for getting those. And thank you for the kind words. How many elections before you release an updated or part 2 of the Ultimate Election book? I will release an updated version after the next election. So in 2025, I will automatically release the new version. So yeah, I appreciate you getting those. That's really cool. And thanks for the super chat. I'm from rural Southern Ohio. Vance sold his soul to the devil with hillbilly elegy. Yeah, like, I just feel like he talked down. He talked down to so many people in Ohio and Kentucky. The way he talked about them in that book was just, I don't know. I saw the movie first before I went back and looked at the book. I didn't read the whole book, but I looked at excerpts of it. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I'm not getting the full picture here, but he's like talking down on people who are on welfare struggling in these towns, like saying if you were on food stamps, you're a bum, basically. That rubbed me the wrong way because, like, you know, I'm from small town, middle America, and I used to work at a grocery store where, like, I would say 1 out of 4 customers walked in with food stamps. That was back when they had the card, like what was that card called? But, you know, I recognized it. They came in and it was and a lot of those people were just, you know, trying to get by. Yeah, sometimes they bought stuff they shouldn't have bought, but come on, living is hard. So yeah, that always rubbed me the wrong way. It is nice to have somebody from the Midwest though, as opposed to some, you know, one of the coastal elites. Although again, JD Vance he's part coastal elite at this point. Like I said, he moved to San Francisco after going to Yale. So is Trump unique in American history? Absolutely. No one else like him. Similar to Hitler? No, I would say more similar to Mussolini. People around you are convinced that Trump is a savior. It's because they see in him what they want to see. They see what they want to see. He says what they want to hear often. Does he deliver on all that? Most of the time, no. Sometimes, yes. Most of the time, no. But it doesn't matter. It's about the sales pitch. It's about the rhetoric. It's about. I mean, he's a demagogue. We've seen demagogues throughout history. Huey Long was also a demagogue. It doesn't mean that he didn't deliver on certain things. He was assassinated too, by the way, Huey Long. But I think you just need to be careful because, like they say, he says what people want to hear. When I say people, I mean people that generally already are on his team anyway. You notice that he used to speak up about, you know, defending vaccines, especially the COVID vaccine. And now he's kind of quiet about that. He doesn't bring it up as much. You notice that? So, you know, he's it's demagogue is the more accurate term, I think. Yeah, I hope that helped. Ground news is something I suggest for getting your news from all across the political spectrum. They're a sponsor, but I don't just, I mean, like I legit use it all the time. So, but yeah, I encourage everyone to get out of their echo chambers. Stop just like talking to people that agree with you all the time. I cannot stand that. If somebody agrees with me on every issue, I have to like find something I disagree with them about because I get bored. Let's be honest. Well, thank you, Red Tech Engineer. Can you believe you forgot about Vice President Thomas Marshall's mustache? I knew I forgot one. Dang it. Freaking, I'm so sorry, Thomas Marshall, the guy who really hated being vice president. I knew I was going to forget that. But hey, Marshall didn't have a full beard. Thank you for bringing that up, though. I didn't have a chance to Google it, Robert. I think Harris being the front runner would be bad. To be honest, I'm way farther left than Dems, so I'm already disillusioned, but I feel Kamala would disillusion more young people on the left. She does not have such a hardliner position on Israel. She's not as quick to defend the actions of Israel. I recommend, Jules, that you look up everything she said about Israel, because she does not just blindly support Israel like Biden does. There is a slight distinction there, at least. And then when you compare that to, the alternatives, which at this point, Trump, or you could say Robert F. Kennedy, both Robert F. Kennedy and Trump are even more hardliners in terms of just blindly supporting Israel. So that's definitely worth considering. And again, you're not just voting for the president, you're voting for their entire cabinet, the entire executive branch, federal judges, Supreme Court justices, yada, yada. Oh, I already give the answer to that earlier, Tyler, but thank you for all the super chats. How was my iced coffee this morning? Tom was here this morning on my Twitch stream. I got to give a shout out to Tom's Table for being there. And now here on Twitch again. This is now on YouTube, but I stream exclusively on Twitch Monday mornings at 9 a.m. Central, where I react to stuff, usually American history videos. Anyway, Mrs. Beat gave me an iced coffee. It was actually an iced shaken espresso. Shout out to Mrs. Beat for that. It was amazing. And we've got 3 railway engines. Thank you. Wow. I'm 20 and just voted in my first election in the UK general election. Yeah, that was just a couple weeks ago. Slightly worried that the UK is heading in the same polarization direction the US is, with people like Nigel Farage, actually becoming an MP. Yeah. I mean, this is the trend worldwide we've seen. And I think the root of it is increased wealth disparity, extreme wealth disparity. We've always had wealth disparity, but like it seems like it's a tipping point now where you have enough people that are they're not seeing prosperity like they should be seeing. And especially with inflation being a problem still worldwide, it's gotten better in the United States, but it's still, the last 4 years have really sucked in terms of inflation. So, yeah, I mean, everybody knows we're all getting screwed. Everybody knows the game is rigged. That's the difference now versus even 20 years ago. And so I think combine that with social media, people are going to find their teams and they're going to stick with their teams. It's just easier to stick with your team and to just have that confirmation bias and to seek out people that already agree with you. So I think when we talk about the future in terms of reducing extremism and polarization, I think the key is increased focus on critical thinking abilities and media literacy skills. I talked about this on a recent podcast with Destiny, who, boy, was he controversial yesterday. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, he said some pretty messed up things yesterday, in my opinion, but neither here nor there. Still a good dude overall. People have their bad days. Jay Swish, thank you. Love your content. What do you think about the federal document case in Florida being dismissed? Oh, yeah, that was announced this morning. I think it will be appealed, so I don't think it's over. If it reaches SCOTUS, hard to tell, although I think more and more it seems like they're way more partisan than I previously had thought. So although it's a more clear, it's a clear violation, like stealing classified documents and keeping them in your private residence, but more importantly, refusing to cooperate with the FBI. I mean, Biden and Pence cooperated with the FBI to give them back if they accidentally took them. Trump just blatantly was like, no, they're mine and I'm keeping them. So this might be a more clear-cut case. But yeah, it definitely will be appealed. I do think it will eventually go to the Supreme Court for sure. Oh, thank you, Nathan, but I don't think I'm qualified for that. But technically the Constitution says I could be. So I don't know who that is, but I'll look it up later. He did say that. I did not know Vance said he would not have certified the election in 2020. Yeah, I'll have to revisit that. Thanks for bringing that to our attention, Andrew. That sucks. Do you think JD openly? Well, that's why he was the nominee then, huh? Anyway, do you think JD openly opposing gay marriage? Oh, that's right. I didn't bring that up. He's a hardliner on gay marriage, despite being younger than me. Wow, that's cringe. Yeah, definitely. Like I said earlier, he is very to the right when it comes to social issues. So that will definitely hurt him. One position I'm not sure where he stands on is like marijuana. I couldn't find any information as far as where he stands on legalization of marijuana. That's a good kind of like a quick way to tell where they're at when it comes to social issues. But I did not bring that up, though, the opposing gay marriage for sure. Now, his argument is like, oh, government should just stay out of marriage entirely. That's how he would spin it. But yeah, no, he was against the law passed a few months ago, last year, I think, to protect same-sex marriage. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Ethan, you probably already got this question, but who would be your first choice for VP? And do you think the Dems will treat this election like the one in 1944? Well, with Henry Wallace getting kicked out, Harry Truman being put in, you mean? No, I think I said earlier, Tim Scott probably would have been my first choice and would have made more sense to me, but I don't think I guess I don't know what you're asking exactly when you say Democratic Party they'll treat this election like the one in 1944. So I'm not sure what you're saying there. I'm sorry, Ethan. Okay, House and Senate definitely will be more in the favor of the Democratic Party, despite the fact that Biden is incredibly unpopular. If you look at state-by-state polls, Wisconsin's a great example. You have what's her name? Tammy Baldwin is running for re-election there, and she is polling fairly well compared to Biden. And one poll I saw, she was 5 percentage points higher than Biden. So I think overall, I think the Democrats still have a good chance to win the House, at least. Maybe not the Senate, but at least the House, which means you would have a divided government. You wouldn't have the trifecta. I mean, okay, Project 2025, I even could find good ideas in Project 2025, but there's more bad ideas than good ideas in there. So, it's just politician speak, Would you ever run forest political officers? I'm not sure what you're saying. Run Forrest, like Forrest Gump? I don't know what you're saying. Run for political office, is that what you're saying? I would consider a local office. I've said this before. Yeah, if that's what you're asking. What was your immediate reaction, thoughts, feelings when you learned of the Trump attempt? Just shocked. Yeah, I went over this earlier, but thoughts on Marianne Williamson? I mean, she's great, but it's similar to RFK Jr. She's kind of portrayed as somebody who's crazy. I don't agree with her on every issue. There's some issues, where she's a little out there, but also though she's really tapped into a lot of, progressivism. And when I say progressivism, I don't get it twisted with like the language I'm using. A lot of her views are with mainstream America, what I call the new silent majority, which issues that I would say 2/3 of all Americans agree on, such as universal health care. That's just a fact. These are mainstream political opinions. You may disagree with it, but that's just how the majority of Americans feel. She seems to be more connected with ordinary Americans than someone like, say, Joe Biden or Kamala Harris. But yeah, it's sad. Most media outlets didn't take her that seriously. What made me so interested in history originally was presidential history. When I was a kid, like in third grade, I got a presidential trivia facts book, but also movies like Forrest Gump. I had a good American history teacher in seventh grade that got me more into it. Just stuff like that. Pop culture often is the way in for people to get into history. If Trump wins, do you think Project 2025 has a chance of getting close to its goals? Or is it an alt-right pipe dream that won't ever happen? I think parts of it definitely have a good chance of happening. Again, pay close attention to who's in Trump's inner circle, especially like in the month before Election Day. That will tell you who he will listen to, because he will listen to anyone who kisses his butt. Nathaniel, what are your chances of Newsom running in 24 or 30? You mean 28 probably? Yeah, pretty good. He's always in discussions about being a future presidential nominee for sure. So pretty good. I won't put a number on it. I already get my thoughts on RFK Jr. I must be falling behind here in these. The dude being Republican has put a bit of a wrench in various talking points after the attempt. I'm not sure what that means. What's your opinion on Heritage Foundation themselves, not just Project 2025? I mean, a lot of the people that run that think tank, they're just paleo conservatives mixed with libertarians from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. A lot of them are old people that have been trying to push these ideas into the federal government for a long time. And yeah, they're dorks who a lot of their positions just come down to deregulation, less taxes, privatization, states' rights. That's the emphasis on a lot of what the Heritage Foundation is about. The stuff that kind of scares me more, though, is the Christian nationalism stuff I was bringing up earlier. I still don't know what that means. Thank you, Raghov. Who's your favorite vice president in American history? Oh, I made a video about this. Henry Wallace. Speaking of 1944, unfortunately, he was not picked again to be the running mate of Franklin Roosevelt in 1944. Would Trump need a trifecta to do Project 2025? Not necessarily. He could do a lot in the executive branch because the executive branch is so incredibly powerful these days, especially with the immunity ruling that went through by the Supreme Court. So I don't think he would need a complete trifecta to do all of it. Some of it, yeah, but yeah. The president has way too much power, in my opinion. Do you think a court justice could run for POTUS? Of course, they did. They did before in 1916 against Woodrow Wilson. You had a Supreme Court Justice, Charles Evans Hughes, ran against Woodrow Wilson. So it's already happened. Make a video on separation of church and state. Good suggestion, Joe. Thanks for the super chat. How much impact does the president have on the economy? That's a future video. Not much is my short answer on that. America is not ready for a female president, unfortunately. I would say that in 2016. I think it's changed a lot. I think since 2016, there's been enough change. I think we're ready for it now. And due to campaign finance laws, switching candidates will finish. No, I mean, they can. It's not too late for them to switch candidates in terms of funding everything. I think they'll be fine if that's what you're. Actually, a lot of donors have suspended their campaign contributions until Biden drops out. So it's definitely not too late if they wanted to switch out with Kamala Harris. Hard to say. A lot of it's just talk. A lot of it's just rhetoric. Hard to say. I'm too afraid just to say yes, because that would be a big freaking deal, and it would be scary if they were to leave NATO, because who knows what Russia might do in response to that. I actually thought about this. Kamala and Bernie might be the perfect ticket to run. But yeah, it does still feel like a fever dream. Fellow millennial here. Grew up in Sterling, Nebraska. Wonder if we ever crossed paths. Appreciate your videos. Yeah, maybe. Although I lived in Omaha for a while, so not Sterling, but who knows if you were walking around Omaha, maybe. Thank you for the kind words. On a lighter note, are you excited for the King of Hill revival? Yes, I am. I'm a huge Mike Judge fan, as you could tell with the Beavis and Butthead dolls behind me. And yeah, who knows how political he's going to get this time, but we'll see. When does that start? I haven't looked it up for a while. Regardless of what SCOTUS might say, what do you think of Judge Cannon's unconstitutionality argument against Smith's appointment? I think it's completely unfounded. She is extremely partisan. Yeah, I disagree with it. Do you think JD Vance would run for president in 2028? Absolutely. Who do you think contenders of president in 2028 are? And in addition to JD Vance, I think on the Republican side, I think, man, you probably would see. It's kind of hard to tell. Like a lot of the same people that ran in this year, people forget there was a number of people that ran. So Vivek Ramaswamy probably would make another run for it, assuming that Trump doesn't win the election, though, because that could also be a factor. On the Democratic side, I see probably Kamala Harris for sure, Gavin Newsom. There'll probably be a couple of those Midwestern governors, like the governor of Illinois. What's his name? JB. Pritzker might be one of them, or even like Josh Shapiro or something, governor of Pennsylvania. You could see AOC decide to run. She's technically eligible now, even though she's 34 years old. Yeah, that's who I kind of see at this moment. What are your summarized thoughts on JD's social economic policy in his book? Yeah, you'll have to rewind and go get that. But thank you for the super chat. What a PFP, Gunga. Thank you so much, Zane. Asa, the silent majority wants Bernie-style policies. Yeah, absolutely. If you look at his policy positions, 2/3 of the country want the majority of his policy positions. That's one of the biggest myths around today, is that he's this radical when actually he's kind of has boring political positions. So yeah, maybe I just blew your mind, Asa. You should search it up. Yeah. Zane, do you think Trump will relinquish power if he wins? Yeah, if he dies. No, I don't know. That's a good question. That's what's kind of scaring a lot of people right now. I think he would, maybe. At some point he would be like, I'm tired of this crap. I'm leaving. You'd think. Love your content. Thank you. Will Ohio go red because of Vance? I think it was going to go red anyway. And will Trump's chances of re-election grow because of his survival a la Reagan? It's not a apples to apples comparison. Reagan was already president when he got shot in 1981. And the election wasn't for another 3.5 years after that. It's also important to recognize that, you have Theodore Roosevelt lose the election in 1912 after getting shot. You had George Wallace not even get the Democratic nomination after getting shot in 1972. So these are not apples to apples comparisons. Plus, uniquely, Trump is still hated by a huge number of people in the United States. So just to assume that, he looks like a really cool dude in a picture with blood coming down his face and his fist up, saying fight. I can see how that looks cool to certain people, but in terms of people who already hated Trump, they're not just going to all of a sudden be like, oh yeah, I'm going to vote for him now. No, that's not realistic. So thank you, Awkward Pendulum. We're going to wrap things up here soon. Oh, Sam's here. I was talking to Sam yesterday in a Cynical Historian stream. Check it out over on his channel, still up. Canada has a growing divergence between national and local politics, provincial parties faring more differently from national. Why the opposite here? Yeah, I think it's partially because media, the way media runs here, the local media is underfunded, so it's easier just to get whatever's on the whatever's being fed in nationally, and so that's what people pay attention to. So that's the short answer, I think, is that we pay attention to national politics more because that's local politics is not covered hardly at all. That's why a lot of local politicians, they don't even have running mates running against them. They're running unopposed, which to me is kind of crazy. If he loses, probably not. Probably not. I mean, again, he would be older than Joe Biden at that point, so probably not. I've donated to Republicans dozens of times. Rand Booth says the Kansas GOP convention, etc., but I was called a leftist rhino for not denying the 2020 election. Yeah, I have friends that are just like you, that have voted Republican their entire lives, and then they are now called rhinos because they don't blindly support Trump. So it's crazy times we live in. Thank you, Apollo. Veronica, what did you think of Gillen and Page's paper showing that the United States pre-Citizens United was an oligarchy, not a democracy? Yeah, I recommend everybody check it out. It's definitely, it gets you thinking. I brought it up in a previous stream years ago at this point. But yeah, it's eye-opening for sure. When I first came across it, I don't remember who brought that to my attention, but yeah, it was surprising. It definitely got me down different paths in terms of thinking about how our representative democracy works. Do you think Josh Hawley would run in 2028? Oh yeah, there's another good name. He's a younger guy too. You know, he's a young Gen Xer and is popular with the base, extremely popular with the base. Now, would he have more mainstream appeal? Not yet. I think he has to kind of tweak his brand if he wants to have a better chance in 2028, because he does not have broader support. Oh, Gretchen Whitmer is another one. Yeah, I didn't bring up Gretchen Whitmer. That's another good possibility for 2028 for sure. Definitely. Tim Walz, probably less likely, I would say. Yeah, not an official duty. What is crazy is that so many people want Biden to drop out after the debate, but yet nobody bats an eye to say the same exact thing to Trump with his crazy rhetoric and his blatant lies. Well, because at this point, we're not, there's a very slim, narrow group of people who are able to be convinced to vote one way or the other. The camps are so well established. People are so entrenched in their camps. They're not budging, no matter what. No matter what. And so that slim group of people, we're just talking about a few million people. That's who Democrats are worried about, because they are not following politics that closely. They look more at the superficial aspects of it. The fact that Biden can't talk that well, the fact that he appears to have cognitive decline. These people that don't understand politics that well, they don't follow that closely, may be like, oh, I don't like Trump either, but at least he, seems to be more with it. Even though they have no idea that Trump might have policy positions that they don't agree with at all. It doesn't even matter. So just keep that in mind, that the people calling for Biden to drop out are worried that he's going to lose to Trump, because the polling is so bad. His approval rating is so bad, historically bad. Historically bad. I mean, we're talking Harry Truman, 1948 levels bad. Yeah, Truman won, but come on. He was lucky to win that election. Hey, it's Junie. Good to see you, Junie. Gretchen Whitmer from Michigan. Andy Bashir. That's another one. Yep. I would agree as Democratic candidates for 2028. Well, good for you. Yes. Thanks for voting. Yes, I'm excited for you to vote in your first presidential election. Houstonian here. Ethan, always happy to see your content pop up. Old and new. Hope the day is well. Oh, well, thank you. Just had a nice comment. Thank you. Oh, no worries. I like Bernie, but do you think that the Dems have gone centrist, considering they don't like Bernie and Republicans further to the right? I think Dark Brandon is a meme. It's there for a reason, because Joe Biden has sneakily shifted the Democratic Party to the left over the past 3 years. If you look at his policies, especially antitrust enforcement, and him reaching out to unions, and some of his legislation that he has signed, definitely more leaning to the left. So that's why the whole Dark Brandon meme is actually a thing, is because the Democratic Party is less centrist. Also, he's more protectionist, which is weird. The weird thing about Biden, when it comes to both protectionism and the border wall, is his policies are basically identical to Trump's. That's what's amazing if you really look at them. Xi Jinping handed unprecedented third term as China's president. What do we do if Trump does the same? And then Project 2020. I already answered this, but I think something drastic would have to happen. I kind of answered it, I guess. Timothy, what's your opinion about people blaming Democratic rhetoric for July 13th? If people think Trump's actions threaten democracy, we must be able to debate that. Yeah, I think all of a sudden stochastic terrorism is real now that Trump had an assassination attempt on. I mean, there was an assassination attempt on Trump. I mean, let's be real here. Republican rhetoric has been pretty insightful as well. Yeah, probably more insightful than Democratic rhetoric. So that's it's pretty silly. The Omega Ranger. Any chance of the White House pulling Fauci 2.0, considering everything they've tried against you-know-who? It's one of the few cards left to play. I don't know exactly what you're talking about when you say Fauci 2.0. I'm sorry for my ignorance on this. Ezra, I grew up in poor Appalachia. JD has done very real damage to public perceptions of where I lived. Well, tell everybody you know, I guess. Jonathan, I've seen a lot of people say Biden could win because Truman did in 1948. Yeah, I think he still has a chance to win. I would say at this point it's more like 25% chance. But yeah, the odds are certainly stacked in Trump's favor, though. Have you heard about it? In the American independent candidate for governor of California, is his opponents call him Crazy Kraus. Opponents call him Crazy Kraus. Okay, I need to look into him. I have not. Forgive me for not being familiar with the gubernatorial election in California. Oh, well, glad to help you pass your STAR test. I have no idea what a STAR test is. Must be something you take down in Houston, Texas, but glad to help. Okay, this will be the last question I answer, and then I'm going to wrap it up here because I've been going an hour and a half. Do you think RFK has a chance at all? Will an independent ever win? How do you think his presidency play out if he won? He would definitely be somebody who would try to unite the country. I think he has like less than 1% chance of pulling it off. He would have to get probably win at least one state, get electoral votes for one state, and then prevent Biden and Trump from getting a majority of the electoral vote, and therefore it would have to go to the House of Representatives. That's what would have to happen for him to win, I think, at this point. So thanks for being here, everyone. If you missed anything, I'm leaving this stream up for forever. Thanks for I don't know if I made sense half the time I'm speaking. I don't know if I make sense, but it's not as good as like a normal Mr. Beat video where I write out a script for the most part. But yeah, speaking of normal Mr. Beat video, I'm really excited for my video coming out on Friday. It's about why there are only 435 members in the House of Representatives. If you are a Patreon supporter or channel member, you can watch it now. Otherwise, I guess you'll have to just wait until Friday. But thanks for being here. Have a wonderful day and stay safe out there. Bye-bye.